Hello everyone. So please take a seat, grab a coffee, close the door. Hey, do you hear me? Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's a pre-recorded session, so I can't hear you at the moment. As you was listening this record, I'll be in holiday in the south of France in my swimming costume. So give me your question in the chat room. I'll be pleased to answer you at the same time. So hello everybody, I'm Nicolas. Just a few words to present myself. I'm an independent penetration tester, a security auditor. I work for a decade in this cybersecurity industry. Now I've built my own company and I work in the internal red team of a financial institution in France. So as you see and heard, I'm French, so sorry for my French. Thank you. We will talk about automating security operations, SecOps. What does SecOps mean to you and to me today? Everyone has his own definition. For me, security operations could be related to a bunch of activities. For now, please consider at least these activities. I will talk about penetration testing, security control assessment, vulnerability management, CTI, and DFIR operations, security compliance, and all about code review and web application testing. We will see why and how to add automation within this activity. We'll talk about Patrol. Patrol is an open source framework for automating and orchestrating tasks addressing security operations. It provides a solution to get a continuous and full stack overview of your cyber exposure. The solution, lets you to define your assets, your scans policy, and the scan you want to perform. The scans give you findings, and all these findings are then collected, analyzed, and aggregated within a unique database. We developed several engines and connectors to existing security tools to assess risk on various security domains. The idea is to get a risk overview from IP to data level. The scans could be one shot, started on a regular basis, and the final goal is to get a continuous monitoring of our assets and our security posture on all stacks. All the findings could be a confirmed vulnerability, a suspicious change in our systems, or a suspicious activity over internet. These findings are then contextualized and tracked over the scans. And that's all for me. Now, of course, it's not a tool presentation. No, I just want to tell you about security operation and about automating SecOps. As I told before, I work in a cert since 5 years. And from my window, there are two major factors that lead current evolution of the IT landscape. That are acceleration and diversification. This applies to assets, the threats, and by the way, the security incidents involved. We see an acceleration of digital program and diversification of assets. So thanks to the digital transformation program, we see an explosion of IT projects. The information systems are more and more open to the world and then more and more open to hostilities. We have to deal with new technologies every day. New products, new framework, new library, and all these technologies are updated every day. We also see changes in the software delivery processes. Remember a few years ago when it was about 4 to 5 modes of production per year. Today, thanks to the hype of DevOps activities, we can see multiple go live in a day. And a go live means a new application, by the way, new vulnerabilities or a new exposed things. The threats are growing too. The number of CV is growing year after year. It's a metric. I don't I don't know. It's a good metric to talk about the number of CV, but it quite be representative. And about the attackers, they do a great job. They are more and more, and they are more and more organized and efficient. From a defensive point of view, we have to cover a quickly changing IT landscape. And at the end of the day, it's increasingly hard to get a realistic, comprehensive, and sufficiently updated vision of our cyber risk exposition. We also have to face another problem. It's the talent shortage problem. We have not enough people to do the job at the moment. Lots of tasks are repetitive, and this led people to lose their motivation and leave the team. We definitely believe it's time to adapt our cyber defense paradigm, and we have to adapt the way we do our job, and we monitor our cybersecurity posture. To face these challenges in the team, we try to manage security incidents with two goals. The first one is for the red team. It's about identify vulnerabilities on our assets before attacker do. And for the blue team, is to identify indicators of compromisions, which could be past, current, or future, of a potential security incidents. And to do this, we have to keep us updated from many things. The first one is to keep us updated from the continuous transformation of our assets. It could be more or less considered as shadow IT in big companies. We have to keep us updated from the InfoSec knowledge database, the new research publications, the talks talking about a new vulnerability or a new way to detect certain things or to exploit the vulnerability, and all the security news. And the spectrum of threat scenario is changing also every day. We have to manage lots of feeds of information every day. Finally, we found that scanning our sets is not efficient anymore. We have to monitor external resources to detect leaks, attack signals, and to understand how third parties see our security posture. And for day-to-day work, it could be very hard to manage all of this information. In the cybersecurity industry, it's a race against the clock. Another aspect we have to tackle is the window of exposure problem. It's all about our reactivity. Today we know that attacker will attack us, not just because we have a bank, we are a gas industry, we are something fancy. No, it's just because we are on the internet, and new vulnerabilities are found everywhere. It's just increasing the likelihood of attack scenarios. So the windows of exposure is a real problem and could be handled with priority. We said that we have to detect and fix the vulnerability and suspicious activities as soon as possible. So facing the challenges, we think about automation and orchestration. Just a quick reminder, my definitions of automation, it's setting up a single task to run, and orchestration, it's about automating a lot of things at once. It's about coordination and management of automated tests. Before we go, let's share a personal experience. A few months ago, I've set up a Kubernetes cluster with default configuration exposed to the internet. It was unfiltered. Maybe you see what will be the next things. Only 24 hours after, I was hacked. A crypto miner was deployed on my cluster, and my servers starts to mine some cryptocurrencies. I've performed a quick forensics, forensic, and I definitely think I was not targeted because I was near Nicholas, just because probably a scanner identified that a non-secure service was exposed on the public IP, and the attacker automatically deployed his payload on my server. So I don't blame it. I don't blame it. He is doing his job. He's doing a great job for this point of view. The fact we have to remember today, it's not that I'm a cheap DevOps, no. We have to accept that attackers do automation and better than us in their field. While automating SecOps, the first thing is, for a defensive point of view, is to do more checks, to cover a larger and diversified scope, to cover a bigger perimeter of assets and make more control on each stack. And the second thing is to do it more often. It could be a continuous checks could be very useful to reduce the windows of exposure, to reduce the delay in discovering and fixing a security incident. The third thing I would like to say, it's about efficiency. As I told before, we have to face a big problem, the talent shortage problem. The idea is to reduce the time affected to low value adding task, to focus on more complex security cases. And for doing this, we have to automate the simple task. It's also a way to reduce and manage cost and to start follow KPIs. It could be also very useful to help you in your compliance and benchmark activities, to define and expedite the same control on subset of assets and do it continuously to see the trends and how far you are compliant with your security standards. So at this time of these presentations, you should be all convinced of automation. So there are several downsides we have to discuss now. Of course, there are limits. It doesn't cover all of the risk in itself. It's if you automate your control, you will have an increasing number of alerts to manage, an increasing number of false positive. We found also that it's very useless, inefficient to found functional vulnerabilities. We also have to qualify and contextualize all the findings we have found. And about the TCO, yes, automating, we don't automate things by magic. We use tools that orchestrate other tools. So we have also to manage and exploit the tools. At the end of the day, a tool is a tool, and it's very useless without a cyber defense strategy. So if you don't have a strategy, don't try to automate things. By the way, we decide to build PatrOwl for automating and orchestrating the SecOps because we wanted to improve our level of maturity and to become more efficient to adapt our work. The core concept is to efficiently moving from a reactive to a predictive, more or less predictive security posture, with the benefits from the power of automation. And also we decide to don't develop our tools, but to use in priority the best of breed tools. The great tools exist, but they are not addressing all the stacks at the same level. Not that Nisus or Qualys are very efficient to scale for vulnerabilities or misconfiguration on infrastructure and your cloud services, but the web application scanners and the container security assessment and the anti-malware modules are not sufficient enough. We found that we can have only one tool to cover all the security control we have to assess. And we found that we have to support scans policy which are realistic from an attacker point of view. And the idea was to benefit from the best part of several security tools, making it easier to define a scan policy and to play it. Patrol, I will talk about Patrol a little bit. Patrol is composed in two independent type of application. The first one at the left is the manager, is the front-end application where you have your dashboard, you manage your assets, you define your scans, you have your findings, and you try to manage the engines, which are the macro applications that perform the scan. All this application is open source and developed in with Python. All features are reachable through the web UI or the REST APIs. The PatrowlEngines are the probes. They are the micro application that perform the scans, parse, analyze, and format the findings into a unique and pivoting format. This could be deployed on several on separate server. We can scale it that way. For example, you can deploy probes on your internet, on your internet network, and probes on your administration or the DMZ, your restricted networks. And it could be depending of your entry point. And these PatrowlEngines are sorry, they scan the assets. For example, we develop an engine for Nmap. We don't redevelop Nmap, but we made a connector to Nmap, and that way we can perform on the same assets security scans using Nessus, Nmap, OpenVAS, Qualys, and also say security tool from the same cockpit, and all the findings are the same look, and we can compare and track all the findings on these assets issued by the several engines we use. A bit deeper. Patch Manager, as I told, it's the front-end application. Here you define your assets and a group of assets. You can also define the scans policy, you can schedule scans and manage the scan results. PatrowlEngines, it's the second component. The PatrowlEngines are the connectors with the scanner, which could scan the assets, which could be on the internet or your internal network. The PatrowlEngines could be also linked to an external scanning service, or a link to your CTI feeder. You can also create the tickets or inject alerts or raise alerts to your the FIR system. You can also inject the data in your SIEM or on your ALK if you want to analyze or to make alerts on a different way. As today, we develop a large range of engines in various domains. For each engine, we create a Docker image, including the tool needed, and the REST API to deal with them. So you don't have to install tool. dependencies or manage the system requirements. It's just as simple as a Docker pull. Oh, it's true, excepting from several engines like Nessus, OpenBAS, or Nmap, with the Docker image do not embed the scanner, but it could be linked to your instance. On this slide, we see a lot of engines, a lot of various by various domains. The idea of Patrol is it's a framework. You can build your tool to on the detection on the control you have to perform. I don't see many companies that use Patrol with all of these engines. It's more or less separated between the vulnerability assessment or the data lakes or the CI/CD, so static code analysis or dynamic code analysis. Thus, we also have a lot of ID for the niche engines regarding vulnerability management, pasties, CTI, web application scanners, the containers, data leaks, and so on. So the engines are also open source, and we accept and contribute to any contribution to create or to give us ID to develop any engine. Please do. Maybe it's time to talk about use cases. The first one is if we are. Oh, I come from the red team. I come from penetration tester, and the assessments are always the same. The first steps of the pen test is to perform the Recon activities. So we search for subdomains, we reserve IP, we try to discover the port, the open port. We fingerprint the services. We search for vulnerabilities and so on. And for this, we use several tools with the same, more or less the same settings on your assets. So with Patrol we use Patrol is in our security assessment to do this as quick as possible and to do this continuously. The second use case is to examine the source code and the running web applications for security defects. It's to be involved in the CI/CD pipeline. So on each commit, we detect on the code repository, we are able to clone the project and start a static code analysis using the dependency checks or the PatrowlHears for the GS dependencies. And the code is stated, is built, and so on. And once the web application is deployed on the staging environment or on the productions, we can also orchestrate autonomous scan using Arachne, Zap, and Nitto. Patrol is available through the REST API, and we also developed Patrol for Py client, which is a Python library. So it's very easy to integrate with other security tools. The third one is about phishing preparation scenario. We use it to search for early sign of malicious domains and where website present. So the idea is to search for suspicious domains or typo squatted domain, and once we identify them, we can monitor them to look for changes. Are they still parked? Are they still parked? Have they issued certificate? What is the web applications look like? Are they new exposed services and so on? And if we have any suspicious change on the attacker's assets, it raise an alert and we manage them. The third use case is code leaks on GitHub. Many times, secure DevOps, all IT people are leaking something on GitHub because I don't know, it's easy, but we don't really know how to use it, and we don't really know that it's for public repo, it's public. So we want to search for leaked internal resources code, to source code, sorry, API keys, password, scripts, and we developed just a simple scrapper on GitHub to monitor our keywords and our patterns to detect that we don't have leaked any security the system script or API keys or any sensitive domain address. We talk about the use cases, but we found that we could automate when we automate all these security tools, we can address a lot of use cases. So I want to talk about it. Just step back a bit. If you orchestrate the security tools, you will perform more control and do it more often. It will result in more findings, and it will result to more alerts. And the security dashboard will look like a Christmas tree as very soon. So, well, all these events are relevant. So, but we have to prioritize those things, and it's the key challenge to today. But because we have the capacity to detect things, to find out the false positive, we have the technology and the experience, but we don't have the time to manage every alert. So we have to prioritize. And if you permit, I will share my morning routine with the CSR team I work in. When a new vulnerability is discovered, every morning we talk about this and we share questions. The first thing is when a new vulnerability is discovered, we talk about the CVSS best score. We talk about if we are vulnerable or not. Are we exposed on the internet with this vulnerability? This vulnerability has been identified on a critical asset. Are we aware of any functional exploit with the vulnerability? Is there any patch or compensation measure available? Are there any likelihood catalyst? Is this vulnerability has been exploited in the world? What is the media hype level? As the vulnerability has been exploited with relevant threat actors? And we ask for the CTI team. We also have the question: have we already found? And the FIR, the team is in charge to investigate and to reassure us if we can. And the next question is: are we really able to detect exploitation of this vulnerability? And at the end of the day, at the end of my morning, sorry, The managers say, okay, we have enough data to initiate a crisis and to treat this in priority. It's definitely a teamwork. It's not just become within the search CCD, the FIR, the SOC, the CTI team. It's really a teamwork. All the IT and business service lines are involved. The second thing is that vulnerability metadata are not static. They are continuously evolving over the time. Everything changes when a new patch is available, when a new exploit is released, and when a new security research blog is available. One event could change the way to manage a security incident. And as you remember, we start using the CVSS base score, and we want to know today if the CVSS base score is sufficiently enough to be a primary factor of discrimination. Just a quick reminder of the CVSS scoring. CVSS scoring, there are three vectors: the base score, which will represent the intersect and fundamental characteristic of a vulnerability. We also have a temporal vector, which represents the characteristic of the vulnerabilities that change over the time. And we have another component about the environmental, which represents the characteristics of the vulnerability within the client context. CVSS is the norm, is the standard, very adopt. But the CVSS base score it's usually provided, but the temporal and the environmental scores are on our behalf. We have clues, we have information from many parts which are not on the same always on the same page. It's just a score, a base score. For example, we have, as fun fact, Heartbleed was scored at 5, and Spectre was scored at -5. So we just have the CVSS base score as a primary discriminator. We don't see if it fits sufficiently enough to do our jobs. So just go deeper with it. We found that we have to manage multiple criteria for prioritization, and we have to manage the CVSS base score, and about the patch availability, the age of the vulnerability. We have to manage the discovery ease and the detection ease. All of these data are available from various sites or feeds of information. So, but all of these are publicly and in quite good quality. All the criteria of prioritization is all about the threats, about the temporal metrics. It's about the exploit availability, exploit maturity, and the ease of exploitations. Also, the threat and the intensity is very useful to know because it's a sign of the maturity and the likelihood of occurrence on of the risk. We thought about with the MITRE attack and the CTI feeds information. It could be useful to know about the threat relevancy. Sorry, it's very hard to say that. I'm French, remember. And it's exploded by monitor threat actors or not. And the third pillar, it's about the assets in itself, the vulnerable assets. Is the asset is critical or not? What is the exposure of the asset? Are we vulnerable from an asset exposed from the internet or restricted network? And what about the distribution of the vulnerability? Uh, if we have a vulnerability with a high CVSS without without a functional exploit on the restricted network, it's it's not very the real priority. But a vulnerability with a standard middle say CVSS bus core, but exposed on the internet with an exploit available and a large distribution, it's the top one priority. So we take all these criteria for prioritization, and we have to make decision to do to check if we have to manage this as quick as possible or not. The first thing is, okay, it's very urgent. We have to ask for an immediate correction, and we start a crisis. We open the crisis room. The second, it's okay. It's urgent. We ask for an immediate correction, and we assess that the corrections is efficient. The third action is okay. It's a vulnerability. We know about this. Apply the fix, and in the next patching campaign, but no more. And finally, if the vulnerability match no top criteria, okay, apply a fix if possible, but we don't have any attention of this. We have to choose our battle, but the type of vulnerability we don't manage this. For that we are working on the new tool, which is PatrowlHears. The open sourcing of the releasing open source this application is currently in discussion. I hope it will be the case. The idea of PatrowlHears is to manage all these criteria, all these metrics, and we massively use the CVE search and VIA for CVE tools, which are open source tools released by the circle. The idea is to grab collect and clean data like CVE, CPE, cross references, to create and update vulnerability metadata from this from the NVD, the exploit DB, packet store, Metasploit, Talos, the Tenable DB, and so on, and to compute a vulnerability prioritization rating using the vulnerability metadata and the asset criticality and exposure. And this factor are known by PatrowlAsset by Patrol Manager, sorry, because in Patrol Manager we know that we found a vulnerability on an asset exposed on the internet, on the internet network, and we know about the distribution too. And the idea is to provide Patrol Manager a rating from on the vulnerability found using any scanner as well. We can also use PatrowlHears to track changes on vulnerability like CVSS, exploit known, and so on, and to perform alerting. Like if we found a vulnerability on the monitored product or product versions, okay, we send automatically an email. We send the Hive event, we send a Slack, we open a Jira ticket, and so on. And finally, the idea is also to share feeds with using Patrol and CTI. So we will talk about this later. I reached the end of the presentation. So if we can just have the step back and talk about all automating, let's say your SecOps. It's quite possible. The idea is to have a cost-effective activities. We strive to rational the tool integration, the product licenses, and all the skills needed to deploy and use the various security scanners. We have to. The second one is to provide turnkey solutions. Every component is available through Docker images. It's very easy to use and they deployed. We provide templates for scan policy and so on. The third one is Patrol, and all of the tool galaxy is open source and easily customizable to your specific needs. And we have documentation. We also have to improve this documentation, but everything is available. Globally, it's a full stack on continuous assessment. The idea is to have a 360-degree overview on your assets to perform a real-time with real-time assessment with relevant data to keep you updated from every source we can. Finally, it's made with love by experts. Sorry. We and all the community, the Patrol community is composed by security experts. And finally, if we can summarize with two things, for big company, it's quite an opportunity to aggregate findings from different existing tools you already have in place. And for newcomers and small organizations, it can bring new capacities to quickly improve your security maturity. So what next? We have a roadmap, of course. We are working hard to improve our integration with other tools. And especially two tools, the Hive, which is a security incident response, and Radar, which is an IT automation and security compliance tools. All of them are open source project, very mature project, and we definitely want to have more integration with this. We also try to improve the Patrol 4P. For Pi, sorry, it's the Python client API. We are currently redesigning the front end of the Patrol manager. We are also testing endlessly new use cases, debugging, improving quality and security, global security of the platform. And we also are building an enterprise solutions. So, but it's an open source subject project, and it will be always the case. Contribution is really needed. So if you have the ability to test it and give us feedbacks, it will be very great for us. If you want to contribute and or just to push new issues, we will be very happy to have this. So we are at the end of the presentation. So if you have any question, please do it in the chat room. And finally, I know it's very late to say that, but I really want to thank the DEFCON organization. Thank you for having accepting my talk, and thank you for you guys and girls to have attended this session. Thank you very much, and go for questions. Thank you.